not having to worry about the technology and how we're gonna do it, because we're confident it can hold up, is really what allowed us to achieve a lot of what we shot. MAM is a short film about two mothers trapped in a home during circuit breaker, and sort of how their lives parallel each other as respective mothers of their own kids, but how different they are as well, coming from different backgrounds, different sort of social strata. Ultimately, it aims to explore Singaporeans' symbiotic relationship with our migrant worker community.
No, Mom, it's okay. I can bake Jaden, and then you go finish your work first, Mom. It's okay.
I think the look of the film was pretty much inspired by the idea of this empty shell of an aspiration that one of the characters, Mrs. Lim, is sort of striving towards. So it's the idea of this very bare sort of house, pristine, stylish, but sort of lacking life.
The camera is kind of like a silent observer in the house. So we kind of deviate away from any handheld movements, and we wanted the camera to be as still and methodical as possible.
We wanted to go for a look that was pretty organic. We wanted it to be grounded in realism. We decided to go for a palette that was a little bit more muted to convey a sense of oppression, a sense of feeling trapped.
We wanted to move through the space a lot, and at the same time we also want to give freedom for our actors to be able to move within the space. So we didn't want to have too much lighting within the house itself, but we ended up seeing the house that we shot in, but it was like at 10th floor. We couldn't light from outside, and then I thought like I needed a camera that can offer me that kind of like dynamic range so that I can shoot with natural lighting. I think at that time Alexa 35 just came out. I thought it was a natural choice for me to use it.
One of the ways that we eventually settled on was this core idea of flexibility, given how tight the spaces were as well. That's where Chris really came on board. So yeah, he's our Trinity 2 operator.
Although the general blocking we kind of know, but it's the little details, the little delicate moments or movements that we want to capture. So by having like a fixed kind of setup, like having like a jeep or a dolly, you know, sometimes you may not be able to reach. If you wanted to move a bit more, you're kind of like restricted by the length of the jeep. So having the Trinity 2, we are actually able to feel the scene and feel the actors and just make very minor adjustments to capture the nuances of the actors.
The scene begins with Lu's sort of entering a kitchen where Mrs. Lim is. These two characters have hidden requests that they're trying to put in to each other. Requests that they are sort of hesitant about putting forward.
We really like the symmetry of the space, and it also gives us the option to have half of the screen to be in the light and half of the screen to be in the dark. So it kind of like represents the emotional state of our characters in the film at that current point in time, where Lu's
forced into the light.
Yeah, forced into the light, and the things that she did earlier on might be exposed while Mrs. Lim is kept in the dark.
I know today is your off day, but can do me a favor?
Yes, Mom.
Sir's coming home for dinner. Can I help cook?
When we see Mrs. Lim framed as a silhouette, we don't really need to fill and sort of like see every detail on her, but even as a silhouette, we need to be able to feel what's going on in Mrs. Lim's face. It was a really fine line to sort of see enough detail in Mrs. Lim's silhouette to be able to feel that awkwardness, to be able to see those measured, considered beats in between, those moments in between. You go too far off and then you see too much. It just loses a bit of that mystery or, visual tension. That's something that I think the camera really afforded us.
I want to buy Jaden more wipes and go for a walk. Last 3 weeks, Mom, I never go out. And today I helped.
In Singapore, our sunset is really, really fast. So once we go past 6 o'clock, we essentially had only like a good 45 minutes of daylight. And
to do an entire scene. Yeah, we were actually rapidly losing light when we were doing this. And we were already overrunning because a scene that we were doing before that took a little bit longer than we would have liked it to.
So while they were prepping, actually I was really panicking because it was quite a rainy day and we are losing light. And when I decided to go onto the high sensitivity option, I was pleasantly surprised that it's still pretty clean. From that moment on, I was really confident that okay, we can get this scene done.
Instead of being asked to recover the sky, to recover the back of where the HDB is at, the conversation that I had with Jac and Shyan was, how much more of the sky can we blow up just so that we could get that kind of cloudy, hazy Singapore? Because to our shock, we could see so clearly into the sky at the back and the flats at the back. And instead of how much we could lift Mrs. Lim out from the darkness, it became how much more could we push her back down so that we could have that contrast and the parallels between the two characters. It comes as a big shock that for the first time when I grade, I literally have more or less all the information that I need.
Authorities have had to enforce the measures quite stringently, raising penalties.
One of the things that is very challenging is that it's actually a scene of mixed lighting and also a scene that has bright LEDs. Traditionally, we would have difficulty trying to grade bright LEDs to look not like they're clipped and look funky. But as you see, even in the ungraded and in the 709 image, the Alexa 35 happened to render the LEDs really accurately. Another thing that pretty early on me and the DP Shyan talked about was the use of the brand new airy textures. So what we picked for this project was the nostalgic texture, and everything you see in the film, the grain, it's not grain that is added in post. I didn't add any film grain at all. It looks so filmic. Some people might say that kind of takes away control from the colorist. I would agree and disagree, because if it's a decision that you can make together with your DP before the shoot starts, you actually still have that control. Of course, some decisions will always have to be baked in at some point of time, but now we have the freedom to choose right down to a sensor level of how exactly we want the image to behave.